The following is an excerpt from the Delaware Valley Outdoors seminar series entitled Secrets to Successful Tidal Bass Fishing on the Delaware River. This seminar, as well as others, is available at DelawareValleyOutdoors.com and BigBassUniversity.com. Access to our next spot is accomplished by putting in at the Linden Avenue boat ramp on the Pennsylvania side, traveling south 2 miles to what is known as the Paper Slip. One feature that is well known is in the back right-hand corner is a sunken barge. This is prime fishing area during the spring and summer months.
Bob, we just pulled into a spot here on the river. It's called the Paper Slip. We fish it all the time. It's a well-known spot. It's not a secret or anything. Right. But the way we're going to present our lures to it could be different than what other people are going to do. We're both going to fish soft plastics. You know, we're going to try to get up into the shade. But we're going to fish complementary techniques is what I would call it. You're going to fish a soft stick bait, which doesn't have a lot of action, and I'm going to fish a worm with a curly tail, which has more action. And that's one of the tips we can give to people who maybe are trying to locate fish or something. If you're fishing a crankbait, your buddy can fish a spinnerbait, you know, until you locate fish. Have people fish 2 different types of soft plastics, and that can, you know, really reduce the amount of time it takes to figure out what the fish are doing.
And color-wise, you can switch off colors. You get a watermelon. I have a June bug color.
Right, dark colors, light colors.
Right, nibble fishing.
Yep.
Steve, this is a rather intimidating piece of structure to come up upon. You got all kinds of things going on here. What's the, how would you attack it? Is basically, where's the best odds to start fishing it?
Well, with high water like this, Bob, or really any water, I would probably start on the outside edges, the big main support beams where you have the long areas of shade come down. And the fish are going to be one of 3 places on here. They're going to be on the vertical beams where they go down to meet the old trestle. They're going to be on the flat deck of the boat, or they're going to be, you know, somewhere on the outside, suspended next to the edges. In order, I would probably say the vertical beams, the flat deck, and then the edges. But with your cast, you could pretty much cover all those places on one cast. And the important thing on it, and you know, we've said this lots of times, is you want to get your bait right up next to it, fall down next to it, and a vertical fall. My lure right now is falling on completely slack line. It's not being pulled out away from the boat.
Yeah, it's not pendulum away from it.
Exactly. And that is probably the biggest key. Now, if you were to come here on a cloudy day, fish would tend not to be as close to structure, and maybe you would start out by throwing a spinnerbait or a crankbait up there. You know, fish would have a bigger strike zone. But for most days, you really do need to get right up in there. And you can see that you have cross members that come down, and the areas where they come together. And you know, you really have to kind of visualize it, you know, because you can't see it all. And the other thing is, if you're going to come and go scouting on tidal water, you want to do it at low tide. You want to see what's exposed, what's not exposed, hazards for navigation. The other thing is, if you were to come in here, and as good as this looks, if it's a complete mud flat at low water, and it's mud all the way out past the barge, it probably wouldn't be nearly as good to spot as it is with the fact that it has the deeper water. That fish was exactly where it was supposed to be.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's a nice fish.
Yep.
Nice fish.
Now that fish was up on top of this barge in the shade, but the sun beating down on the barge heats up the water. The tide is high, so the fish move up and down real easy with the vertical supports. Textbook spot.
Textbook spot. Nice fish.
Yep.
Yep. Nice fish. Yeah, again, with the structure that we have here, it's it's amazing how many nooks and crannies, but you got to fish each one of them because they're laying each one of those spots could be in.
You have to be very, very thorough. I mean, 2 or 3 casts of this thing does not do it. 100 casts,
yeah.
You know, you could fish this for a half hour. And the thing is, these fish can actually spawn up on top of this barge. It's another place of opportunity. You know, in tidal waters, there aren't a lot of completely ideal places for the fish to spawn. So if they can scratch out a spot on top of a lay down piling or one of these barges, they'll spawn on that.
Yeah, and it gives them also a lot of protection too.
Right. And the thing is, I mean, this is what I would call like a dominant cover. I mean, if you look at the rest of this cove, there's some little lay down stuff, there's some gravel and stuff like that, but this just screams, you know, catch a fish. And you definitely have to spend some time on it, you know. We're slowing down, we're fishing some small 4-inch baits. You know, we got a cold front, wind, all that stuff we're dealing with. But once these fish are up to where they're going to spawn, they're not going to leave.
No, they're going to just stay in here.
You know, they may come back a little bit, they may go a little bit deeper, they might be a little more lethargic. But in tidal water, you can make these fish bite. Where on a lake or a pond, it might be a little more difficult. Yep, there's another one off that barge.
Yep. Look how fat one this one is.
Now, was he up on top or was he off the side?
He was laying right off the side, right basically where you would catch them. They're just laying right along that edge.
Okay.
Right along that edge.
He's probably laying up there with his nose poking out of the shade.
Yep.
You know, the bait fish can't see him.
Yeah, and the baits we're fishing are a slow falling bait, so it stays in that water column much longer. And we
Right.
just picked it right up. Oh, look how fat that one is.
And we're basically finesse fishing, Bob. We're using, you know, small 4-inch baits, light line, light weights, and we've slowed down.
Yeah,
You know, we don't have a whole lot of clouds cover or anything like that. You know, it's a quite sunny day, and you know, the fish are going to be tighter to objects. I think I just had a little pickup there, maybe not. Nope, I missed them. Definitely fishing here, though.
Yeah, definitely fish.
And I think what I'm going to do is, you're using a little bit more subtle color.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm using black with a chartreuse tail, which under these high conditions may not be so good. I'm going to switch over to something a little more natural, like a watermelon with a chartreuse tail or a pumpkin or something. And we'll see how we do.